expressed in this program and not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, the possible impact of Uber on the transport sector. And in the second watch, yoga, health, and the church. For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on Uber in Jamaica? Share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag, The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, tried to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. Maya Angelou.
Okay, good morning, Shivani.
Good morning, Rev. How are you?
You know, I'm doing well, and you, my brother?
Very well, thank you.
You know, we'll be talking about yoga in the second watch. Is it true that you go to the gym regularly?
I do, actually.
How do you spell that gym? G-Y-M or J-I-M?
G-Y-M.
You sure it's not crazy, Jim?
No. I don't do crazy.
The first watch will be back after this break.
I know, man. She gets out of bed even when she doesn't feel like it. She works long hours and rarely gets a break. She gives of herself every single day and has a very important job.
Here you go, sweetie. Do you need anything else?
But this woman is not only a nurse, she is also my mom. And Malta helps her care for herself so she can look after everybody else. And me too. Thanks, Mommy. Thanks, Malta.
Malta, you're full of life.
And the Morning Watch today is brought to you by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore. Big thanks to Home and Things.
I always do my best to stay in control of my expenses. So with Flow, I added my mobile to my home internet service and elevated my savings. I get 50% off my mobile plan each month. Yeah man, I get a simple, predictable mobile bill of $1,600 plus GCT and never sign a contract nor made a deposit. And you can get this too. Add your mobile to your Flow home internet for elevated savings of 50% off your mobile plan each month. Visit the Flow store or discoverflow.co to sign up today.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile. Cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, last week, Tuesday, news broke that Uber launched its operation in Jamaica and was thereby allowing Jamaicans to sign up to become drivers. Now, the service, which many associate with the ride-sharing operations in the USA, is also in other parts of the world and has made quite an impact over many years. But what could be its impact on the transport sector here in Jamaica? Well, to answer this and other related questions, we have online Ms. Sophia Campbell, President of the Route Taxi Association, and Mr. Michael Diamond, President, Consumers Intervention, Jamaica. Good morning to you both.
Hi,
Hello.
good morning.
Good morning, Miss Campbell. Mr. Diamond, you with us?
Yes,
Not
he's
hearing
there,
Mr.
but
Diamond.
he needs to. His mic is on mute.
Okay. Mr. Diamond, would you please unmute so we can hear you? All right, not hearing Mr. Diamond still. Okay, you still with us, Miss Campbell?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Good to have you. All right, Miss Campbell, before we delve into the meat of our discussion, could you tell us a little bit about the Route Taxi Association, membership, leadership, roles, and functions?
Okay, well, the Route Taxi Association of Jamaica, or route taxis in general across the island, we operate mainly in the rural areas of the island. And so whenever you see a route taxi, it will have a specific designation written on the vehicle. So it tells you exactly where the vehicle plies. For example, you see a vehicle with the route Maypen to Old Harbor. So right away, the passengers would know that this vehicle plies this particular route. And so they will know which vehicle to really take. Now, what a route taxi does is that we collate the documentation for the route taxi members, and we submit same to the transport authority. So we're like a liaison between our members and the transport authority. So we would submit their documentation to them. We pick up documentations. We will go to meetings. We lobby on behalf of issues that they may have, and so forth. So that is the main role of what a taxi association really does.
So, in terms of the routes, there are specific routes that are laid out for different drivers, I'm assuming. Miss Campbell?
Yes, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Yes, there are specific routes that are laid out for drivers, right? And if they go beyond that route, what happens?
Well, if they go beyond that route, they would have been in breach of the terms and conditions of the road license, and so they will be sanctioned once they are caught doing that. So they can't. So, for example, I use the route Maypen to Old Harbor. That taxi cannot leave Old Harbor and go into Spanish Town, for example, because they would be in breach of their road license.
Well, we see this, at least I see it very often. I see the outside of the parameters of their route.
Yes, and we are allowed to do that within a certain distance of our road license, but usually we have to put up what is called our chartered sign. So we are allowed to do, because you might see a vehicle, a chartered taxi at the airport, because they took somebody there because they chartered them, but their chartered service sign would have to be up in those cases. And trust me, we are really monitored by the transport authority and the police, so they can't really get away or do it wantonly out there. So it's only on those few occasions, and usually they have to prove themselves that that is the case.
And the vehicles are generally owned by the drivers?
Not necessarily. Like with any other industry, you have your employees. So the majority of the taxis plying the routes, they are employed drivers and not owner drivers.
Ah, okay, got you. Mr. Diamond, are you with us?
I'm hoping that you're able to hear me now.
Yes, we're happy. We're hearing you. Thanks for joining.
Okay, good morning.
All right, Mr. Diamond, for those who do not know or may have forgotten, what really is Uber and how is it different from other transport services, as far as you know? Mr. Diamond? Mr. Diamond, I'm not hearing you right now. At least I'm not. Okay. Miss Campbell, are you with us still?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. Could you fill in any information in that regard?
No, I do not know much about the operations of the Uber. From my research, all I'm seeing is that they offer more like a chartered taxi service,
Yeah.
and that the stringent or the rigorous checks and balances that we as PPV operators have to go through and be licensed to operate. That's not the case with Uber, because when I went on their application, a person just needs to be 21 years of age. The person needs to have a driver's license. The vehicle must be comprehensively insured, and they want the registration for the vehicle, and that is it. Whilst on the PPV side, we are regulated and monitored by the Transport Authority. We have to make an application to renew our road license annually. We have to pay fee. Those fees. Our vehicle has to be insured to carry passengers, because a PPV insurance covers every single passenger inside that vehicle. Our fares are regulated and set by the Ministry of Transport. We have to fit our vehicles twice per year, etc. So there is a lot we have to use. The drivers have to use badges where they have to get police record, etc. So there are a lot of things, as you can see, checks and balances, etc., that we have to go through to be able to carry passengers in our vehicle. So I really can't speak much, but from what I see, you can be a white plate operator, which we in Jamaica call robot taxi, and be a member of Uber.
Yes. Mr. Diamond?
Yes, are you hearing me now?
Yes, hearing you now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was having some
Yes,
issues.
yes, I was asking what really is Uber from your perspective, and how different is it from other transport services?
Well, I can tell you that it is definitely something that can be an improvement on what is already existent for us as consumers. Now, there's no doubt about it that the personal transportation industry here in Jamaica needs some attention. Not just some attention, needs a lot of attention. And what Uber has actually done, or it actually will do eventually once it's properly placed, is that it will create several different opportunities for us as consumers. And as a matter of fact, it may actually improve upon the services that are now actually existing, because we know of the advantages that it actually brings with it, which includes something that is very paramount for consumers, the safety concern. And that is something that, cannot be overlooked. Now, Uber entering into the Jamaican market can be a disruption to a certain level, but not at the level that for the alarm that has been raised so far.
Oh, why you say that?
In the sense of what we're speaking about is a personal transportation industry. This is where, unlike in other situations where individuals would be on a street waving down a taxi, or they'll call for a taxi, and there are times when you'd actually call for a taxi and it's not available, right? And there's a lot of mystery surrounding that in regards to pricing and who you'll actually get, when you attempt this. Now you're in a situation where, using the Uber app, you're able to pay in advance, and which is one of the things that, many drivers can also look forward to. The fact is that now you have a cashless system, which reduces the whole motivation for being robbed. That's one thing. And also that passenger know exactly what the cost is, who exactly is going to be taking them, and what route exactly they're going to be on. So this is something that from point A to your destination point, you're properly informed. Right?
Okay, could you hold that thought, please, Mr. Diamond? We'll be right back.
You're tuned to Love 101, the family station at 7:15. Just a reminder, the morning watch today is brought to you by Home and Things. Your construction finishes superstore. Big thanks to our friends at Home and Things.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way.
NIS pensioners, avoid the wait. Get your NIS pension straight to your bank account. It's easy. Simply visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's website, mlss.gov.jm, or the nearest NIS office and collect the direct deposit application form. Then complete the form and submit it along with supporting documents to the NIS office nearest you. Avoid crowds and long lines. Get your money when you want it. The National Insurance Scheme, always working for you.
I just want to sleep, but this cold won't let me.
When cold symptoms rob you of your sleep, switch back to a good night with Painol. Painol, the cost-effective cough and cold reliever that helps you get a good night's sleep. Switch back with Painol, cough and cold from Lascom Pharmaceuticals.
Back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are discussing Uber and its impact on the transport sector in Jamaica. We have online Mrs. Sophia Campbell, President of the Route Taxi Association of Jamaica, and Mr. Michael Diamond, President of Consumers Intervention of Jamaica. Mr. Diamond, before the break, you were telling us about the positives of having Uber in Jamaica?
Yes, there are several positives, and one of the main concerns, of course, is safety. Now, in regards to the current situation, especially where taxis are concerned, there needs to be some revision where that is concerned. And, Ms. Campbell rightfully highlighted that, some of these taxis are route designated. And for whatever that case might be, perhaps in the original state, that might have worked. Now, in reality, there are a lot of times where passengers are, the taxis are not. And in order for the taxis to reach those passengers, they would be contrary to their road license. So there are times when this road license actually create more traffic because they're all having to be on a particular route than actually serving the customers themselves. So that's a situation that needs to be looked into.
Are you against the road license, Mr. Diamond?
As they're currently constructed, absolutely. Because this is a situation, when we look at how the road license actually put drivers in the contrary, situations, we have to look at why is this happening? Because imagine you're going down one particular road that's going to create a delay for over an hour. And this driver could now turn off to go and get passengers who are not particular on this particular road and need a taxi. It is somewhat.
But that's why you need checks and balances, Mr. Diamond.
You need checks and balances that are functional and not just simply where someone is behind the desk and said this is the best route to go. When we look in other areas, when we look at other countries, we look at other jurisdictions, and how the cities, really treat these type of situations, we'd realize that there's some plus that we can get from instituting how these things are in other places, rather than simply saying, we have 200 taxis barreling down on one particular street where this road license is contrary, where they're just one block over, not only to prevent traffic, but also to get passengers that are seeking transportation. So yes, there should be checks and balances, but that may not necessarily be the right way to go at this particular day and age.
Interesting. Ms. Campbell, your response?
Well, what I will say is that there are two types of taxis now in Jamaica. I represent the route taxi, as I indicated before, but you also have the hackney carriages, and those are the chartered services, but those are in the KMTR. Now, what you find is that they can do that because their road license allow them to move around the different streets in Kingston, like what the Uber would do. So they are not restricted or limited as to where they go.
Let me get it clear, Ms. Campbell, before you go on. You're saying that in Jamaica there is already in existence taxi services that are similar to what Uber is offering.
That is correct. The Hackney carriages, those are similar to that. But as I was saying now, the benefit of using one of those taxis is that the passengers, they would know who it is that is driving them. The driver would have been vetted, by the transport authority. The driver has a badge to show that they have a clean police record, right? And in the event of an accident, etc., the passengers within that vehicle are all covered by
That's not the case with Uber? Isn't that the case with Uber? The passengers are covered?
I can't speak to Uber, but from what I see, that doesn't seem to be the case, because when a person is operating with a white plate, then that is not a PPV insurance. That is having a private motor insurance, like what you and I would have on our personal vehicles. So there's a difference there. And that is why, quite frankly, PPV insurance is very high because of the risk that in the event of an accident, etc., the vehicle would have several passengers within, unlike a private motor vehicle where most times it's just the driver that is alone that is in the vehicle.
You are saying the Hackney carriages, as they exist, also have security features, because the person would have to have had a criminal record, they call it again, verifying that they don't have a criminal record and all of that. Police record and all of that. The person's ID is placed in the vehicle for all to see, and there are particular routes that they'll go on.
No, yes, for the Hackney, they can travel across the KMTR. Okay. So they don't have a route. So there's a difference between the route. The route taxi has a specific route attached to it, but the Hackney does not. The Hackney moves around freely in the KMTR,
which is what
a charter service, which is what Uber is doing. Where Mr. Diamond speaks about the passenger would know the cost or the fare beforehand. It is the same with the Hackney carriage, because usually they are monitored by a company. So when you call to get this service, then you request your fare, so you would know beforehand who is coming for you and how much it's going to cost you to get to your destination.
And you can pay in advance?
I don't really represent them, so I am not so sure as to how the payment would go, but I know that there are some that, yes, they do in fact have
that shouldn't be an issue in today's world.
You have the point of sale machines that they use.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue.
Right, so that is not an issue.
Okay. Let me hear Mr. Diamond on that, because it seems as if what she's saying, we already have it.
We do not have it to this level. And what it is that Uber introduces technology to a industry that has been operating really archaic for a very long time. This is almost like digitizing the service. What happens is that you are paying in advance. You have to put your particulars within this app in order for you to take advantage of the service. Now, it goes both ways. Uber existing elsewhere, the drivers operate on tips as well. So the service, the kind of service that they offer, is good for them. It benefits them in the long run because, customers get to rate these drivers. And it works both ways. If you have passengers who are unruly, disruptive, etc., they also rate the passengers, where passengers, those that use the service, that customer can actually be kicked out of the service, unable to use Uber anymore, because, they have been very disruptive, as far as to the drivers, etc.
But Hackney could do that too. The Hackney carriers could do that as well.
Well, the thing with Hackney, And what Uber actually does now, it removes the need for a dispatcher, but it's live dispatcher that would take your call and attempt to connect you with the driver because you're now using the app directly. Now, what it does, again, it also would remove it creates certain competition for drivers because now you have individuals that would sign up for the service that can actually be doing other things in the meantime. They don't have to be full-time an Uber driver in order for you to be able to utilize the service. This is a contract between how they decide to operate and whatever those fine details are. But from a consumer perspective, the idea that it can be cost effective, the fact that, these individuals, however it is that they need to sign up, this is not random. So they also have to present the proper credentials in order for them to be able to be a part of the service.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about accountability. Now, where the Acme carriage is concerned, that is only for a specific region. So for the Kingston metropolitan region, that is it. Jamaica is not only the Kingston area. So because of this, what it actually will do now, it will possibly encourage greater penetration for the transportation sector to be able to service the entire country rather than particular areas. Imagine for a fact that you have route taxis possibly plying the same route as the bus service. Now, that creates a dilemma in itself. And again, this is all about, we also have to look at how we reduce traffic in certain areas. And
no, but will Uber, I'm sorry, Mr. Dama, will Uber reduce traffic or increase traffic? There'll be more of them on the road, there are more vehicles on the road, therefore.
I would say that it is possible that Uber can also increase traffic in certain areas, but it's also possible that they can increase service in areas which are not on the service. So there's also a plus and a minus where that is concerned. Now, for us, for instance, if we were to take the Uber service in New York City, we definitely can't compare it to the service here in Jamaica because of population, but beyond that, the advantages certainly outweigh any disadvantages that can be presented here. Because where Uber is concerned, same thing again, that passenger and that driver, they are insured for any possibilities that can occur. Now, if we did customer survey, but as far as red plates are concerned, we have not gotten the level of service or the level of innovation for the type of stress that we have gotten from red plate service. So this is something that we also have to look at. If we're not going to take up the technological advancement that can be added to our personal transportation industry, what shall we do? If there is no Uber, how do we advance the service to bring more accountability, more safety, and more reliability for our customers?
Miss Campbell, you have the last word on the issue. I mean, what Mr. Diamond says sounds reasonable. What says you?
Well, when we look at it, I will still maintain that for us, we will have to make some adjustment on our side. And one of the things is that the Ministry of Transport and the Transport Authority will need to let us know what exactly it is they plan to do and how they plan to regulate the Uber. Because let us look at it. We, as I say, have to pay for road license renewal. We have to fit our vehicles twice per year. The last fare increase we got was 8 years ago because we can't just up and charge whatever we feel like, right? Our fares are set by the Ministry of Transport. No, is it that they are saying to us as legal taxi operators that we are to surrender our road license and just join the Uber? Because clearly, all these overhead costs that we are currently faced with, we would no longer be faced with them. So our insurance would move down from $320,000 now to probably $50,000. Right? There are several apps here in Jamaica that have been now I think being launched, which would do the same as the Uber, same kind of monitoring, peace of mind for our passengers, and create peace of mind, etc., for our passengers that we can use as well. But these passengers wouldn't easily know that, look, we are traveling in a licensed public passenger vehicle.
Believe it or not,
authorized to operate, and not like what is happening where you and I, Mr. Tucson, can go out there right now, register with Uber, and we become taxi operators. So there would be no level of training. We don't need anything for passengers, etc. To me, that is just opening up the country now for roboting.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Our PPV operators at this time.
We'll leave it at that. Fascinating discussion. Really appreciate your thoughts on the matter. Have a productive day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, and same to you. Thanks for having me.
Great. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is 7:31 on the family station, Love 101. Just a reminder, the Morning Watch today is brought to you by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore.
Me a forward! Is where you going? What you mean? Me get my vaccine so me can touch the road now. Touch road? You know your ears hard. The health people said this is only the first dose and we need 2 doses to be fully protected. Eh? What you mean? What me mean? We're waiting for the second dose, Mr. Sir. So you try turn your yard and go and follow the protocols. Wear your mask, wash your hand, and keep your distance from other people. Get vaccinated, get back to life. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Full of flavor, no if or no maybe. Malta, my crave on a daily. I couldn't ask for a better cold glass. Coffee can't pass on this. My Malta, my pocket with me. You know, I got it with me. I feel have a buckle for myself. Yesterday the shop locked, so today me come back. 2 new flavors on the shelf. Me say me see it and me grab it and me love it and buy it. My mommy take it and she pull it and try it. She say Malta in the morning, afternoon or night, and she finish it, she don't need no help. Drink them all. Coffee or vanilla, the Jamaican original. Have it with my lunch and my dinner. Ginseng with the ginger, make you settle and you simmer. Good for the baller and the singer. Make you feel good and it tastes real nice. Better when cool, so we put it on ice. Take a sip once, if you take a sip twice. Mother full of flavor for life. Mother full of flavor for life.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything, and no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Not seen any newspaper articles or stories right now. So coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts on Uber in Jamaica? Please leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
As the celebrations around Father's Day have passed and we've feted our own, what images of father have we honored and praised? When our fathers look at themselves, what do they see? Is our image of father healthy? We'll find the answers to these questions and more on The Rock with host Pastor Harold Steve Blair and guests Reverend Clinton Chisholm and Reverend Dr. Garnet Roper as they discuss the father image. That's a discussion on the father image this Tuesday, June 22 at 10 a.m. on The Rock, found only at this location, Love 101 FM, the family station. The Rock, solid, objective, substantial.
Eat what you grow what you eat.
St. Catherine, it's your week in our I Love Summer campaign. Be sure to stay tuned daily for our special features designed to highlight the parish of St. Catherine. And speaking of highlights and features, tune in this Tuesday, June 22 at 5:30 p.m. for the feature From the Farmer's Mouth. That's designed for farmers with guests who are farmers, as we have a chit chat with our guest, Nothia Morgan, farmer at the Morgan Sunrise Egg Farm in St. Catherine. We'll be talking all things egg farming, and it'll be coming from the farmer's mouth this Tuesday, June 22, 5:30 p.m. right here on the family station. We're taking I Love Summer to the nation.
In 13 weeks, telling you about your friend, the story comes straight from the farmer's mouth. Come and hear it for yourself.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise that no vaccines will be administered on Monday and Tuesday, June 21 and 22, 2021. Persons with their second dose due on these 2 days are asked not to visit any vaccination centers, but to await contact from the regional health authorities with details of their new appointment. Second dose vaccinations will resume on Wednesday, June 23 for persons 50 years and older, with a full rollout of second dose vaccinations for all ages in short order. The Ministry of Health and Wellness thanks the public for their cooperation.
Welcome back. You're tuned in to the Morning Watch, and I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, let's join Shivani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on Uber in Jamaica? Shivani.
All right, some comments here. Let's go through quickly. Let me start with this one. This says Uber in Jamaica, less stress, identification of motor vehicle, and its driver is shown to the customer before arrival, including license plate. Also, payment is made in advance. Uber would improve the taxi service, no change of price when they arrive. This one says Uber is similar in some ways to red plate and private taxis. We have to bear in mind that whatever business or services that comes in Jamaica will have positive and negative impacts in different areas at times. Uber fares are similar to those of private taxis. All right. Let me see. This one says, my question is, what are the benefits of Uber? If there's an accident, what happens, All right. Let me see. There's another one here. This one says, Shivani, are taxi drivers get training? Oh, she's asking. All right. That's Mary or the St. Elizabeth are asking about training. Training. Pauline on Facebook says, I think it's a good thing. I'll use it when I'm in Jamaica. I use it in the US. All right. Let me see if there's another one here. No. Great. So those are the comments at this time.
A lot of interest in Uber, Shivani.
I tell you.
Thank you. And thanks to those who sent the responses. All right. Yesterday, June 21, was celebrated as International Yoga Day under the theme Yoga for Wellness. Now, it's no secret that in spite of the fact that yoga is often associated with health and has been around for many years, there are those, especially from among the church, who remain suspicious about many of its basic philosophies and practices. Well, to discuss the practice of yoga and the issues arising from it, we have joining us Mrs. Sonita Maureen Burrows, yoga instructor, and the Reverend Richard Beckford, lecturer at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good to have you both with us. All right. From your individual perspectives, how would you define yoga? What is it really? Beginning with you, Mrs. Burrows.
All right. For me, I was thinking about this, and for me, yoga is a science of well-being. The word yoga actually means to join, and it really brings about a union of mind, body, spirit, of the mental, the physical, the emotional. When one practices, and there are many different types of yoga, which I would imagine we'll get into in a little while, it brings one back into this place of feeling at peace, at one with God, with self, with humanity, with, with life. For me, that's really what yoga is. But it really is a sense of well-being. It came back. It's an Indian practice. It's been around over 5,000 years. So it's very ancient. And many of the world's religions have borrowed from yoga philosophy.
So a sense of well-being, a union of mind, body, and spirit, and it gives a feeling of peace with God, with self, and with life in general.
Yes, absolutely. It is a group of physical, mental, and spiritual practices, which, as I said, originated in India over 5,000 years ago.
All right. Reverend Beckford, your perspective?
Well, I would echo what Ms. Morris has said in terms of it being a science. I would coin it more a spiritual discipline because arguably it has been a practice, a way of life that originated in India. What has happened though is that it has become a really strong fundamental part of Eastern religions coming out of India and the East, particularly Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. So it is intricately tied to these religious practices, and it was exported to the West. And what the West has in terms of yoga is indeed the physical component, the mental component. But the West must never forget that there's a very strong spiritual component to it that the Eastern folks adhere to, right, in terms of it being a part of its practices. I do not agree that that all religions or a number of religions have employed it. It has been a part of the Eastern religions and religions coming out of that belt. But for example, Western religions like Christianity and Islam, those kind of religions, it is employed, but not to the degree of a spiritual discipline like those Eastern religions.
So you're saying it's a spiritual discipline, a way of life. It has become a strong fundamental part of Hinduism, you said, Buddhism and Jainism?
Yeah, you see, before I actually taught or got into world religions, I was one of those who just saw it as an exercise. I just saw it, as some stretches, and there are some health benefits. And I won't take that away from it. I think you have to give credit where credit is due, and that is why, as Ms. Barr said, there's a science of it, the science of well-being. But the more you get into world religions, especially the Eastern religions, you realize that this is not just an exercise for those folks. This is a way of life. This is lifestyle. This is part of their religious practice. And it's linked to the highest goal. For example, in Hinduism, in attaining that unity, as Ms. Barr said, that unity, not just with mind, body, and spirit, but also that unity with the deity, right? With the divine beings of the religion.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's not that what is wrong, If the folks want to do that in the Eastern religions, fine with that. I won't knock them, And as I told you, I teach world religion, so I do believe in having dialogue between religious groups. However, you also have to understand that certain religions, different religions, have their fundamental belief systems that may clash with another religion. So, for example, Christianity, right, is a religion that does not believe in spiritual disciplines are part of Christianity, but the spiritual disciplines are not geared towards what a yoga is geared toward. The spiritual disciplines are there maintained to ensure that people have a kind of relationship with God, and a number of spiritual disciplines. Prayer is one of those, worship and etc. But it is in terms of that achievement of unity, that liberation, right? For example, Hinduism have what we call moksha, right?
Tell you what, Reverend Beckford, hold that thought. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back.
This is Love on a Wonder Family Station. It's now 7:45.
I always do my best to stay in control of my expenses. So with Flow, I added my mobile to my home internet service and elevated my savings. I get 50% off my mobile plan each month. Yeah, man, I get a simple, predictable mobile bill of $1,600 plus GCT and never signed a contract nor made a deposit. And you can get this too. Add your mobile to your Flow home internet for elevated savings of 50% off your mobile plan each month. Visit the Flow store or discoverflow.co to sign up today.
This is the soothing sound of your finances being handled by Grace Kennedy Financial Group. And this? It's actually the relaxing noise of your car and home insurance, handled by experts you can trust. Trust Grace Kennedy Financial Group to do your banking, insurance, investments, money services, and more gracefully. Get to know us at gracekennedyfinancialgroup.com.
Bashko time. All the things that you need for your home with prices so low, you would never need a loan at Bashko. At Bashko. Shop it. Appliances, house with furniture and rugs, east side linens and glass and mugs at Bashko. You're shopping at Bashko. Whether the north or south, in the east and the west, Bashko, them all over, they must be the best at Bashko. At Bashko. You're shopping at Bashko. At Bashko. Giving you more.
Hello, Aunt Dar.
Morning, Keisha. Me want to ask you something. You know, me did always get the part. Like how they did sign me up for the new social pension program. You think me going to get anything for the June month?
Yes, Auntie. The part office say that all the part and poor relief elderly that transfer to the new program go and still get them part payment for June.
True?
True.
That's so good. So when the part going ready?
Payment going run from June 15 to 2nd of July. Them going pay out by name as usual, and everybody must collect same place where them did collect last time.
All right. Thank you, my darling.
PATH and Poor Relief beneficiaries, if you are 75 years or older and have been transferred to the new social pension program, you will still receive payment from PATH in June. Be sure to collect it. Check the Friday Star to find out your date. For more information, call PATH at 876-922-8007. PATH, advancing your family, developing Jamaica. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Island Toussaint, and we're discussing in this the second watch, yoga, health and the church. And we have online, this is Sonita Maureen Burrows, yoga instructor, and the Reverend Richard Beckford, lecturer in Bible and Theology at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. Reverend Beckford, before the break, you're telling us about moksha?
Yes. So I was saying that moksha in Hinduism is what we call liberation from the cycle of rebirth, right? And yoga is a part of that process of getting to moksha, right? And so when you get into now Christianity, that's not a part of Christian theology or Christian philosophy. So to fuse the two now may be problematic in terms of doctrinal purity for Christianity and as well as Hinduism. But as Ms. Barrow said, there are different kinds of yoga, right? What the West has really employed and embraced is a type of yoga that deals with the mental and physical well-being. But there are different types, and we have to be mindful that the different types come with their own philosophies. And when one seeks to embrace and to practice, you have to take those into consideration.
Okay. Mrs. Burrows, I don't know if you want to comment on what was said a while ago by Reverend Beckford, as well as walking us through a typical yoga exercise session? What it entails?
Okay, so I just wanted to add, I was raised a Roman Catholic. My dad was very religious. We went to church very regularly. In fact, my granduncle was a Catholic priest. He was the headmaster of St. George's College at one time. And I went to Immaculate Conception, went to Catholic schools. And what I would like to say is that although my Catholic upbringing gave me a very strong faith, my yoga, which I've been practicing for over 40 years, has really brought me closer to God. I'm not going to even attempt to explain why, but that's just my personal experience. And so it doesn't mean if you practice yoga that you move away from Christianity. It doesn't mean that at all. So as you mentioned, there are different branches of yoga. For example, there's Raj Yoga, which is the yoga of meditation. There's Jnana Yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge, really learning about yoga philosophy. There's Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion. There is Karma Yoga, which is a service to others, which again, yoga led me to the work that I do today. I run a non-governmental organization in inner city Kingston, which I've done for 31 years. And so that's really, so more than just doing asana practice, which is postures, coming into the studio. I'm in my studio right now and doing postures with students. My life's work is really yoga. Is Karma Yoga. The other thing I wanted to just mention about yoga, there's the yamas and the niyamas, which is, we speak about nonviolence, about truthfulness, about non-stealing and non-hoarding. So many people who want to practice yoga, they'll show up in a yoga class, get on the mat and do some postures. I'll do a couple just to show you. And we start with a centering. We start with breathing exercises. Now, breath work is a very, very important part of a yoga practice. And we teach alternate nostril breathing, or I do. I teach a breath of fire, which helps to strengthen the lungs. So, for example, during this time of COVID, I was not fearful at all. Not because I didn't think I could get the illness, but because I know that my lungs are very, very strong. I practice breath work every morning of life. And so I had no fear. If you'd like, I'll demonstrate it quickly. Shall I go ahead and do that? Do we have the time?
No, well, most of our audience are listening, so.
Okay, so I'll just demonstrate. So I will describe it. So I do something called alternate nostril breathing, which is you're breathing through one nostril, you pause at the top of the inhale, and then you exhale slowly through the other. In yoga, we breathe in and out of the belly. And this has nothing to do with a religion or a spiritual practice. Yes, it is part of the yoga tradition, but I really recommend everybody do. So alternate nostril breathing helps to balance the both hemispheres of the brain and helps to relax the nervous system. The other one, which is called the breath of fire, is a forceful exhalation into the belly and a passive inhalation. And it sounds like this. What this breath does is it clears the sinuses, it strengthens the lungs, it boosts the immune system, and it energizes the body. So I practice it every morning, and therefore I go downtown Kingston, I do my work there, I come home, and I'm in my studio in the evening. I'm healthy, happy, joy-filled. Now, so some of the benefits of yoga, we do something that we do in just about every yoga practice. And by the way, when people show up on the yoga mat, there are also many different types of yoga. There is yin yoga, there's vinyasa yoga, there's ashtanga yoga, there's iyengar. So the style of yoga that we practice of asanas are postures, is very different. It can be very slow and relaxing, or it can be very active. It's really wonderful for athletes who need to stretch and strengthen, improve their flexibility. You know, when students come into the studio at first, normally the shoulders are up here and they're breathing very shallowly into the chest. So yoga teaches us how to relax the shoulders, how to stand tall, how to breathe into the belly. And so a lot of work with flexibility. I know my picture is on the screen. I can see it. So as I'm talking to you, I'll just show you a very classic one, which is what we call cat cow, where you're just on hands and knees and you're moving the spine in and out. This is something that we encourage people to do every day. And we're always working with the breath, breathing in, slow, deep breath in and out of the belly. We also do a fair amount of twists. And in a twist, which again, I'll just demonstrate as I'm talking you through it, you're twisting through the spine, you're detoxing the liver, detoxing the kidneys. So there's a lot of physical benefits as well as psychological. It improves, as I said, the flexibility, posture, protects the spine. The twist keep our disc nice and supple. I talked about boosting the immune system through the breath work. Menopausal symptoms for women going through menopause is very, very helpful. I didn't have any menopausal symptoms at all, and I attribute that to my yoga practice. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mrs. Burrs. Reverend Beckford, all of this sounds pretty good.
Yes, it sure does. And as I said, these are good benefits that I think you can actually give credit yoga for, and when a woman hear that she can actually not go through the whole nuances and dynamics of menopause. Hey, which woman doesn't want to embrace that?
Right.
So those are really good benefits.
I'm hearing a butt coming in now.
Right. So as Mrs. Burrs has said, the physical, mental benefits. However, it ought not to replace. It ought not to replace the Christian way of connecting with God. You see, these are the fundamental Christian way of connecting. It's through the scriptures. Whether you're once you're of the Reformed tradition, which branches off into evangelicalism and Protestant church and so forth, historically, what we have championed is that a fundamental route to connect with God at the highest level is to know God through His special revelation through the scriptures. As I said earlier, there are other spiritual disciplines that we employ. For example, meditation is one of those, which you hear is also an element of yoga. But the object of meditation is meditate on the Word of God, right? So that we can understand who God is and continue in union with Him, because union with God, in theological terms, begins with God. He has brought us into relationship with Him. He maintains and sustains that relationship. And we, in order to continue in terms of our fellowship with Him, we employ the disciplines. My caveat to anyone who is going to be using yoga for spirit, for physical or mental well-being is, like Mrs. Burrs, and Mrs. Burrs is a lady who is a Christian lady. You have to understand that this is also a religious act, and you have to be mindful that whoever you partner with, in whether you go to a yoga class or you have a yoga instructor, you have to ensure that what is not being thrust on you is Eastern religious practices and philosophies that will clash with your Christian values. And actually, we call that syncretism, right? And that is where we fuse religious practices that are at odds with each other. And throughout the scripture, we saw that God, He warned the Israelites about that when they were going into Canaan. We hear Paul talking to the believers about, be careful how you merge beliefs of Christianity with that other philosophies. So you just have to be mindful.
We have to leave it there. Want to thank you both for joining us. for an interesting discussion on this matter of yoga, health, and the church. Mrs. Barnes, I won't say namaste.
You don't need to.
But I say good day. Have a good day. Good day to both of you. Bless you.
To you, to my friend.
You all as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information on how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Cassie Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, and you're back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
And the Morning Watch today was brought to you by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore. Big thanks to Home and Things. It is 8 o'clock. It's time for the program Forward in Faith, brought to you by the Portmore New Testament